Hey there, it's Nick Terzo, and this is the Radical Podcast. No, we won't be overthrowing any governments, but we will be learning from radical creatives who rule the world. Hey folks, welcome to this week's show, or welcome back if you have been listening to prior shows. This week, my guest is the one and only Randy Jackson, who most of you will primarily know from his 12 seasons on American Idol. He and I have a very long history, and he is one badass bass player and musician. Randy is a member of Journey and has done studio sessions and touring work with such artists such as Mariah Carey, Bruce Springsteen, Tracy Chapman, John Bon Jovi, Bob Dylan, Aretha Franklin, Herbie Hancock, George Benson, Narada Michael Walden, and Jean-Luc Ponty, and the list can go on and on and on. Randy has been both a major label record executive and a prolific entrepreneur with many TV productions on his plate, past productions like America's Best Dance Crew, and other ventures including Randy Jackson's Hit List. Aside from his many accomplishments, I have to say Randy is one of the most generous and authentic humans you'll ever meet. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with my friend, Randy Jackson. On to my conversation with Randy. Hi, Randy Jackson.
What's going on, Nicholas Terzo? What's going on, brother?
My longtime friend, thank you for doing this. I am so grateful.
Dude, listen, I miss you, man. How's life?
Yeah, I miss you too. Life in the music city, man. This is the hip happening city, and here I be.
Oh, you're there in Nashville. I love it.
Yes. Where are you quarantining? Are you in LA?
I'm in LA still, man. Hollywood Hills here, holding it down, grinding, Nick, grinding.
Is everybody safe and healthy? Your whole entire tribe?
Yeah, my family's all good, man. Thank God. I mean, it's a very weird time that we're living in, a very crazy time with COVID and then the social injustice that's going on in the world. But, it's time for the world to reset and look at itself and carry on with what's good and throw the bad out.
Indeed. We are definitely in a trifecta of kind of bad mojo right now. So,
Yeah.
and I have, if anything, I think much like you've probably taken great solace in the youth of today, because
Yes.
man, they're leading the charge, and I'm ready to hand it over to them. It's theirs.
Yeah, I
Fix
love it
it.
though. The future's theirs, and they should paint it the way they want to paint it.
Right. Absolutely. So have you been involved in any of this, or have you kind of stayed away because of the COVID thing, or any of the marches? Or
I did some stuff with a couple of them, but for the most part, kind of just stayed safe.
Yeah. I wish I could. I would love to be on the streets, but I'm just too old these days. Can't expose
you and
myself.
I both, Nick.
I can't expose myself.
We're older young men.
Oh, it's true. It's true. So what have you been up to? Like, what are you doing currently? What's got you excited?
We're still developing a lot of TV shows, out pitching and selling. We got some things that'll come on next year because COVID hit and just threw a wrench into all productions, as you've probably heard.
Yep.
We got a lot of products in the marketplace. I got a whole health line with Unify Health Labs with all sort of vitamins and shakes and things that are good for your body, trying to get people healthy.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a bit about that. I got an email about that, and I'm just curious because I'm not in my fighting shape right now. I got probably 50 pounds on me that I shouldn't.
Well, Nick, you got to get some of these products. Like I did a lot of work on myself. The health, mind, body, and health is definitely the new wealth. You got that, you got a fighting chance. Without that, nothing else really matters. So I kind of really doubled down on that. Got with a bunch of healthcare professionals, a bunch of doctors, and we came up with an amazing array of vitamins and minerals and things that we think can help people. And gut health, I didn't realize until I went through my whole transformation. Gut health is everything, bro. Every disease, everything you do starts in the gut. So we got to get you on the program, man. Come on.
Yeah,
Unify Health Labs for Nicholas Terzo, people.
I am in. I am in. I'd seen it and I'd read it and I'd kind of seen the video and it's like, wait a minute, this makes a little bit of sense here. What is this?
Yeah,
And
gut health, man.
yeah, because I've just been fighting. Look, when you and I used to run the streets a little more, I
Yeah,
was with a trainer. I was in shape. I was a younger man by 25 years.
yeah,
And now at my age, man, as an Italian kid, this stuff just does not come off.
yeah. The pasta takes a little while to get off.
Yeah, it's brutal. And I know you've gone through it well and come out of it well. So I saw a picture of you that your assistant sent, and you look good.
Well, I've been trying, Nick. I've been working on it, man. It's still a work in progress. Many years ago, I developed type 2 diabetes, so I had to do something to get my life and health together. So there's no cure, but you can definitely manage it. So I had to wake up, as we say, I had to reset my whole thing, you
And
know.
is that checks everything, right? When you do that, I mean, you definitely can control type 2.
Definitely can control, but you have to be very mindful. You have to be consistent, and you just got to change your life. I had to divorce food because, I grew up in the lovable South of Louisiana where there's not enough butter, lard, syrup, sugar on everything. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
Can I
Well,
put more honey on my steaks?
I saw a quote you had, which was fantastic, where you said, if there's a party like with donuts, like you associate food with like a party. And I thought that was kind of brilliant in a way. That was the happiness. And
Yeah,
it was a
because I mean,
bacchanal.
well, eating's very emotional, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Happy, sad, contemplative, whatever mood you're in, there's always a food that's going to satiate somewhat, you think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you definitely connect the dots from your emotions to your eating patterns.
So we have that. We have a eyewear line, Randy Jackson Eyewear by Xyloware. We manage a lot of writer producers and a handful of artists. And on the music side, they got songs and stuff in movies and TV shows and various artists. And, we do some of that. And, we got a full plate here. We got more products launching soon and
You're not
continuing to
busy.
grind and build.
You're not
Yeah,
busy.
we love busy, Nick. It's who we are.
It is. It is. This is lifestyle. So do
Yeah.
you still have the studio too, or not? That you had kind of
I
done?
don't have one currently,
Yeah.
but I got out of mine about a year ago because all my writers and producers have spots.
Right.
Although I'm probably going to do a new one very soon.
Right. Well, I'm just glad during the COVID because it must be very bad for business during this crisis, having
Well,
a recording studio.
the music business and the recording business is way down, but the streaming business is way up at all the labels. So people are sitting around and you probably need music to help you get through this.
Oh boy, do you. So
You know what I mean?
you do. So let's talk a little bit, about your journey and, how a nice Southern boy from Louisiana, gets himself out to the West Coast, becomes, a mother effer bass player, session player. Um, you grew up down in Baton Rouge and you attended college there?
Yeah, I grew up, went to Southern University down there, graduated, um, and then kind of moved between there and New York and there and touring because my first big break was with this jazz fusion drummer, Billy Cobham. And he was in a jazz fusion group called the Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Oh, I know them.
And, it was like jazz through Marshalls. It was like rock jazz.
Yep, yep.
It was the predecessor to Rush and early Journey and all those bands and Santana. It was all of that. So, um,
So for like how long a period of time did you play with Mahavishnu?
well, I played with Billy Cobham, the drummer, from there and I recorded 2 albums, 3 albums. I would say 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years, toured the world, went everywhere. Had a blast and kind of grew up on the road.
And I mean, are you a self-taught player? I mean, is this something you did as a kid? I mean, were
No,
you
I took
test or
lessons.
no?
Well, I took lessons. I went to college. I majored in music. I was the kid that I heard when I was young, you got to be a sponge with all the older greats and the mentors. I would just try and soak up as much knowledge, wisdom, playing, understanding of music as I could. And, luckily for me, I sort of grew up on, Beatles, Motown, Zeppelin, Hendrix. So I had all those early beginnings. And, I love Coltrane and Miles. And, my brother's a drummer, so I got a chance to listen to amazing music. And I didn't realize till I was a lot older how important the understanding of song and structure was to me, because if you look at the Beatles and Motown, those are probably the two greatest songwriting traditions ever in the history of music.
Right.
So,
That.
hundreds of copyrights.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. And when you were did Southern University, did they have like a marching band? Did they have the traditional drumline stuff where all the
Well, they had all of
HBCUs
that. They
used to
had all of
compete?
that, but they had this jazz guy, Alvin Batiste, who became my mentor and teacher, and he started a jazz studies program. So that's what I really got it. That's the reason I really went there, is
Wow.
because of Alvin Batiste. And when I was 16, my brother used to play with Alvin in his band. My brother's a great, amazing drummer, Herman. And I got a chance to meet Cannonball Adderley at 16. So listen to him talk, like fly on the wall, little kid. And I just, Alvin was really the gateway for most of us in Louisiana.
Hmm. Is he still alive? Is he still with us?
Now, God rest his soul, he passed on some years ago, but what a great teacher, what a great man. We all owe him a lot.
And was he? I mean, was he a monster player? Did he play a bunch of it? I mean, what was his background?
He was a monster player, grew up as a classical clarinet guy, transformed that into jazz, and just an amazing player, and understood the music at a degree that most people didn't.
Did he?
So
Did he record? I mean, did he have recordings?
he recorded records. We recorded with him. He recorded a lot with others. He was also in Billy Cobham's band with me.
Okay.
So yeah, he was amazing.
So you tour the world. I mean, your primary residence then is New York City.
Well, there in Louisiana at the time. So then I got this teaching gig in Houston. I went there for a minute, got out of New York, came off the road, and decided I wanted to go west because I'd met a girl from Seattle. So I was going to move to LA. I'd met a bunch of people in LA. And I was at a show at the Santa Monica Civic. And I met this drummer, Narda Michael Walden, who took over for Billy and Mahavishnu. We were backstage. We started talking. And he says, hey, you should come to San Francisco. I'm going to start this production company. And we're going to try and do these R&B pop records. Like, wow. So guy like me with a bunch of other guys like me trying to cross over. So I went up there, checked it out, and stayed. My girl moved down from Seattle and started grinding up there with Narda.
So that was, yeah. I was trying to understand the San Francisco. How you made that leap there, and I didn't know you had met Michael prior to that.
Well, then I had friends up there, another guy named Don Miley, another guy named Patrick Cowley, and they were working over at Fantasy Records. And Fantasy had signed this guy named Sylvester. So I didn't even know who Sylvester was, but I knew the song, The Mighty Real Song. So then I went in and recorded a bunch of stuff with them. I met all the Santana boys. I did a bunch of stuff with Carlos. I met Neil. I met Steve Smith. Met all the Journey boys. So that's how the whole journey of it all started. And, it was just a healthy Marin County, San Francisco time. We're all close, all hanging out together, jamming, playing. It was like the original jam scene.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, that was an incredible time, and I think San Francisco's been so rebranded, right, as a technology city that
Yeah,
no one
yeah.
remembers. I mean, well, people do remember, but what an artist city that was during
Well, it
that.
was cool because, Nick, it wasn't LA, it wasn't Seattle, you know well. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It was just such a different, and it wasn't so much the city, it was always people came from Oakland or Berkeley or, you know what I'm saying? But it was just culturally diverse and rich and just kind of like, I used to always say it's like a European city on the West Coast. Like, I feel like New Orleans is a European city in the South.
Yes.
Like, these two cities don't care what goes on anywhere else in the world but in that city, you know?
Yeah, they definitely march to their own drum. So,
Yeah, proud of, like, I mean, just, it was just an interesting time because, I mean, when you think about the hippie movement, Haight Ashbury, and the Dead and all those things that came from it, it was just a different kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
yeah. And so did you become a little bit of a studio rat? I mean, were you hanging out at
I was
Fantasy and
hanging out. I was doing records at Fantasy at the record plant. I was playing with a lot of people, Frankie Beverly and Mays on the R&B side. Uh, you know, were friends. I was hanging out with the Tubes. We became really great friends.
Fee Waybill?
Fee Waybill, man, all those boys who were like circus performers, but they were street artists, but they were musicians. But I mean, what a cool collective of guys. They had dancers. Uh, the great Kenny Ortega's now gone on to give you High School Musical and
Mhm.
everything else that he was the lead Tubes dancer.
Oh, wow.
So when you look at how these guys have formed, it was such a rich in art and diversity, just in human kindness and passion. Dude, I feel so blessed and fortunate to have been there at the time.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's definitely a moment in time. And there, I mean, you decided at some point you joined Journey and did a couple of
Well, I
years
was
of
doing all
duty in
these
the
records.
80s?
Well, I was doing all these records with Narda. I mean, we worked on Clarence Clemens, we worked on Aretha, we worked on Whitney, we worked on Kenny G. I mean, we did Herbie Hancock. We must have done 75 records. Madonna, we worked on everything, right?
Mm.
And I met the Journey guys and I started a little side project with Steve Smith and Tom Costa from Santana and myself. And during that time, I'd worked with this jazz violinist, Jean-Luc Ponty, who also had played in Mahavishnu. So Billy Cobham and Jean-Luc Ponty was sort of my way into the jazz side, and they both were originally in the Mahavishnu Orchestra. So from there, led me to Narda. From Narda led me out to a lot of other things. And I just kind of found my way and became really good friends with Neil. Neil would come and jam with me and Steve and Tom. And we all became close friends. I mean, I used to do these pickup shows with the Dead. We had this like charity band we put together with Carlos Santana, Garcia Weir, Tony Williams playing drums, Joe Henderson playing sax, Armando. It was the wildest band, but it was so amazingly avant garde and artistic that, it was just a bunch of artists getting together sharing. So I
So
do
here,
I
go ahead.
miss that actually. I miss that because I wish more people would lend themselves to that as opposed to all being so separately siloed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I've always loved about you, and I think people know your persona from the TV stuff and all that, right? But when I got to know you, what I thought was great about you, there was just no real boundary to like any of your music musically. You had no boundaries and you were all over. And I loved that you had that curiosity and that ability to explore all these different mediums. And I
Well,
think that is
Nick,
a
I love
lost thing where
music.
everybody's in a silo. You're right.
I love music, as do you. I mean, I don't know if people know your history, but the great Nick Terzo which has made a lot of dreams come true for a lot of bands. I'm thinking of a great band called Alice in Chains. Uh, but I mean, I think, you love music like I love music. I think that was also the difference in the A&R guys, you and I from back in the day. We actually really loved music. That's why
And
you wanted to do it.
well, and the thing I thought, and this is like a conversation now in the modern label, right? About what do you call the urban department, right? What do you call? And it was weird though, because my experience, and this is just my point of view, and you may have a different one. I kind of felt like, why is everybody being put in these categories? What if I
Yeah.
saw, what if I saw the next Prince? So I couldn't sign that. I don't understand all these
Yeah.
little fences that are being put up inside the label.
Well, you're absolutely correct, Nick. I remember, and I know you remember, at a time when we were at Columbia, we would be in England, and if we wanted to sign something, the British label would go, "No, that's our territory." Well, I just think it's dope. I don't care whose territory it is. I want to sign it. So I think you're absolutely correct. And I hope that labels are taking more opportunities like that to sign stuff that's great as opposed to just sign stuff that's researching well and that has a lot of huge following. Because if something's already built with a huge following, what are you bringing to it? It's already started, so you didn't really build it. You're just chiming on as the ambulance chaser.
Yeah, it seems
And
you're abdicating a large portion of what you should be as a record company.
yeah, I mean, we would always say, and I still say this now, don't tell me who you've signed. What have you broken? What have you done? What have you gone to work and rolled up your sleeves and really took to task and saw this artist and made the dream come true for your label, yourself, and that artist? That's the real
So
measure.
yeah, I agree, and it's lacking in large quantity today. Um, so the San Francisco chapter, when did that kind of close for you? How did you get to Los Angeles then? Even though you
Well,
probably were doing sessions down there anyway all the
I
time.
was doing sessions in LA. I would, come down and work with all sorts of people. Elton, Billy Joel, Lionel Richie, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, I just became that guy. And it's a funny thing. When I was younger, I won a scholarship in high school to go and study with Chuck Rainey, who had played on Aretha Franklin records, Motown records, all the Steely Dan records. I mean, this guy was in the Blackbirds. This guy was an amazing guy. And, I didn't think I would ever become that, but I was slowly sort of becoming that. And the Bay Area was very interesting. I befriended a guy that had started, he was a producer and a writer, and he started with another dear friend of mine that I met up there. Howie Klein had a label called 415. There was a guy that started at that label with Howie named David Kahn. We all started together and loved music. There were all these very cool translator Romeo Void, these cool San Francisco indie bands that were signed to 415. There was an indie label that started as a college radio station, and Howie was the DJ there, and he started this little indie label, and he made a deal with Columbia Records. So we started doing stuff together, and then so one day, David says to me, "Man, you ever think you want to get an A&R? You got a pretty good business." I say, "I don't know, I don't know, I don't know." And he says, "Well, listen, I know you know Tommy Mottola, but we just brought over this guy, Donnie Einer, from Arista as the president. And Donnie, I knew a little bit because I'd done a lot of records for Arista with Narda and also by myself because they had Whitney Houston, they had Aretha, they had Kenny G, they had Jeff Lorber, they had all this stuff over there. So, it was just relationship after relationship. And while I was with Narda, Tommy sends this girl that they just signed at Columbia out to San Francisco for us to work with. We heard some demos and we're like, wow, this girl's incredible. Her name was Mariah Carey. So it just kind of naturally formed and mushroomed that way for me to get into A&R and do that, because I hated most A&R people. I still don't like many of them today because I fault them for the good music and the bad music.
Right.
And so far, the bad still is outweighing the good, but it's a tough fight. It's a tough battle.
Yeah, it is.
Um, I think everybody goes in with the best intentions, but it's hard. Listen, I used to remember a time that everybody, Nick, and I'm sure you know this because you were one, wanted to be an A&R. But once you got in and you realize how difficult and hard it is, you're like, man, what was I thinking?
Yeah, you can't even, and the thing is, the artist never really understands um, the amount of time and energy and politics you have to fight through within that your own building, right
You
before
have
you
to
go out to the world. it's
you have
it's
to fight
insane.
for them internally, something you believe in. You're fighting every day with the marketing and promotion people, the label managers, the chairman, the president. You're really trying to push their wares uphill. It's hard.
It's definitely a struggle, let alone getting, helping guide the creative and getting that right. Um, so you did A&R for Columbia from, say, you did for like a decade or so. Did you
Yeah,
enjoy it? Did you like being kind of like on that side of the
I liked
equation?
part of it. I liked part of it. It was a struggle. Look, I mean, working at Columbia was a great thing. I mean, you and I, we know this well. Um, it's like anything else. There were some good times, some not so good times, but, it taught me a lot. And if you could work there, we used to say you could work anywhere because it's probably the toughest place and the hardest place to really have success. And I was there for 10 years and then went to MCA for about 5 before I started the Idol thing. So,
And in
yeah,
those
I mean,
jobs, you had the flexibility in those jobs, though, right? To still play, to still to be a producer, still not just an A&R
yeah,
executive.
my deal always was slash producer. So I had the chance to produce and play still. And, whether it was VP or whatever, it was also producer slash producer. So thank God I had that. And yeah, the playing was interesting and stuff because I'll never forget some of the A&R people and some of the label managers and the heads of the labels would see me on TV with an act and go, what is Randy Jackson doing on the Leno show or Letterman with Mariah? Does he work at MCA? Is he allowed to do that? Is that in his contract? And somebody would go, yes, it is. You know,
Well, of that time period, especially the Columbia period, I'll always be grateful to you and to, David Kahn, who you mentioned earlier. As a young kind of snot-nosed kid, the guidance you guys provided, on the studio side of things, right, to help groom me to become a really good A&R executive on the recording side. I'll always be grateful to you guys for that, and also be grateful to you for introducing me to Bruce Springsteen at one of our Grammy parties.
yeah. Listen, well, Nick, listen, you're a special guy, and I always think it takes special people to do A&R. And I think what I always loved is you wanted to know the truth. You don't want to know the bullshit and all the whatever. You're like, okay, yeah, but how's this really go? You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's like, because I think a lot of people had the fluff and they had the lingo, but you really wanted to know. So, David and I mean, I love that. I'm sure David loved that because that was the whole thing. So, and you had great respect from all of us in there. And, listen, you're a talented guy in your own right, and you got great ears and great instinct. And that's what I always say. If you can have instinct and you can follow it, and you can be honest and a hard worker, you can make some shit go.
Right. And a bit of an anarchist, right? We had our anarchist punk ways too.
Yeah, listen, that's the whole thing, you know? Listen, I mean, David loved all those quirky bands when he signed Fishbone and got
Yep.
in fistfights with the drummer and like, you know, like just, you know what I mean?
It's
He loved this stuff, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
you know,
Clash of good art, huh? The clash of good
hey
art.
man, hey, those were good times, man. Those are good times.
Yeah. So somehow after you left MCA or the Idol thing came up and that made you leave MCA.
Yeah, I was during my time at MCA, I was beginning to not love being in A&R. Um, it was an interesting time because I was seeing at that time we could have huge acts that we had like Mary J. Blige or Blink 182 on all the biggest TV shows for promotion and not really move the needle. So I could see to me something else needed to happen. And those bands were doing well, those acts, but the TV thing wasn't moving the needle. And I was a little not happy. I think I'd probably burn out on the whole A&R process at that point. And I was thinking to myself, okay, either I'll stop doing this, I'll just take a break for a while. I was doing sessions, I was getting a little waylaid with that too. I needed something else or just to take some time off. You know what I mean? Just to
Right.
recharge, to reset my own thing and really find my heart and soul in it again. And listen, I mean, and around the corner, an agent called me one day that I knew and said, "Hey, we're trying to bring this show over. You might have heard of it in England." And sent me some tapes at that time, and I looked at it. I was dying laughing. It was cracking me up. Kyle was cracking me up. And, it was just a different look at how to break acts. But what I loved about it is that Kyle was like me. He was an A&R guy at RCA in England. So, when you look at everything as an A&R person, Nick, as you did, as you still are, and you'll forever be because you're just that human like all of us, you look at everything with an extra critical eye. So I would say to people, as soon as I saw someone's face, 40 boxes would go down by the side of their head. Eyes too close together, knock knee, needs a hair makeover, teeth are jacked up, shy. I mean, you just riddle it off. Bad body language, like, oh my God, not sure there's a star. And Kenny Ortega taught me one thing that Bob Fosse taught him. He says, you got to walk in the room with it. Bob Fosse would look at people walking and go, no, you ain't got it. I can tell the way you walk. You don't even believe in yourself. Get out of here.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And as crass and as hard as that is, it tells you a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Kyle was an A&R guy. So I was like, you know what? This is crazy. It's an insane thing. Music on TV is always corny at best, but this thing is either going to win or fail miserably. And I just was in my gut. I had a bunch of meetings with the guys, and I was just like, you know what? Why not take a chance?
And your gut was right. It becomes this cultural juggernaut.
I didn't know if my gut was going to be right or not, Nick, but I knew I needed something that was just so outside the realm of anything I would ever think. But like yourself, people, as long as you keep an open mind and you're willing to learn, my God, and you're willing to grow, my God, you could achieve a lot. So I remember sitting with Kyle the first time when he came over from England. We're sitting atop the Four Seasons and we were talking. And I realized he was just really a real A&R guy like me and you. And he took a chance on his TV show in England. and it blew up and he won. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, at least I'm doing it with like minded people. So I look at these shows today and I look at, you can put every star on the show, but a star is not going to look at the talent like me and you look at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, I'm not competing with the star. I want the star to be as big as it can be. I'm not worried. Maybe the star could take me out. I don't care about that. And I'm going to be extra critical and I'm going to try and make this star into the biggest thing in the whole galaxy. So, just it was, look, it really worked. We got massively lucky and so blessed. Grace of God, thank God, it all worked. And it became a huge hit.
So, this kind of becomes your another chapter, right, of exploring, and it
Yeah.
becomes this cultural juggernaut. What were the highs of that, and kind of what are the lows of that? Like, what was the grind of doing that show? I mean, there has to be some kind of a grind. I mean, I know it looks fun, but
You
it's got to be
know,
grindy too.
well, for me, it wasn't much of a grind because, I was used to touring and being on the road and,
Right.
we were traveling in style and it was just, it really was. I think the hardest part was really just having a thick skin because, but I was those kids growing up. I was that artist trying to make it out of Louisiana and trying to grow my star as big as I could. So you develop a thick skin as an artist because people hate you 25 million times before they ever going to love you. And, I went through that. So when you're on TV and you're saying something in front of people, and at the height of the show, we got about 60 million eyeballs a week, which is ridiculous because we're on twice a week. So people would either hate what I say, love me, call me this, call me that, names, whatever, whatever, whatever. It was almost like running for office, you know?
That
Uh,
was kind of before social media turned mean, right? At least at the beginning of it.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you got to take the bumps and bruises with it. And Kyle and I would always say, if we're going to dish out the honesty and the comments, we got to be willing to take it back. So I think the hardest part was really having a thick skin and not really getting affected or falling into, oh my God, I hate Randy Jackson. He sucks or whatever, really just being that thing against the wind saying, I don't care what you think. I'm getting mine. Like, and I would always say, what would Bowie say in this moment? He would say to everybody, F him. I'm going ahead.
Right. I don't think
I'm gonna,
I don't think he was
I'm,
asking anybody.
yeah, I'm gonna do me.
Yes. Yes.
All
Uh,
the greats said that.
yep.
So I always think like that, be it Hendrix, be it anybody today, be it anyone. I mean, be it of late Billie Eilish, I mean, be it whomever.
And how, like, when you did that, I mean, like, what chunk of time would that take over like a year? Like, how many months of your life?
It took up a fair bit of time because the process in itself, the show would run for 3 or 4 months. At the end of the show, about a month later, they went out and started the auditions across the country. So before we came out and saw them, so you had about 2 months there, then we dive in again and start going out to the various cities. Um,
How
but
many people would you see, like, in a given, like, if you went to Dallas, like, how many people literally were in front of you in like a day or
we
2?
would see a cross section of the best of that city, or cross section of whatever. If there were people on the balance of the spectrum, we'd go like, we want to see them because we may see something you didn't see. For
Right.
instance, I remember Georgia Sparks, who became a winner, had auditioned 3 times before she ever made it to us. So when she made it to us, we were like, how could you guys have seen this girl 3 times? And she's this good and she may win the whole damn thing. So, we would,
They could miss things on the edges.
dude, I'm saying, one of the things that I hate the most to this day, there was a girl that I loved that I still love today named Tori Kelly, who was just unbelievable. And, everybody didn't see that, didn't understand it. I was just like, you guys are all crazy. this girl's incredible. You know what I mean? So, but she's gone on to make it and do her thing. And, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, it's like, look, the show's not for everyone. It's not the story for everyone. But it was definitely a rocket ship for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, and look, we all can pass our judgments. The show actually found some very talented people, period.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Carrie, Adam, Kelly, of course. I mean, there's Ruben, there's Clay, there's like Jordan, there's like Fantasia. There's a ton of people that all, Daughtry, all, there's just a ton of people that all came through that I think needed the launching pad that this was.
And so did those type of stories and careers that launch like that, I mean, that spark that A&R thing with you again, being the proudness, proud of watching something come from nothing and
Well, yeah, and what really sparked it is Kyle got the records. He did the records along with Clive.
right.
And, we got a chance to chime in on what we thought the record was, or he got a chance to chime in on the A&R process. So, and we would always say one thing because we're A&R guys, right? The slogan for the show is American Idol, the best undiscovered talent that there is. We would always say our credibility depends on if this person wins and they win after it and sell records and become a success. We cared because we're A&R guys and our names went on that. So we definitely followed that hard. Different from every other show. People would say to me, well, why did somebody win this show and I don't hear from them again? We stayed in the process. So we were looking at people that we thought that could be stars and do well. You're going to get the songs from everybody, but can you carry it? Can you carry the weight? Can you actually do it and be a personality? You know what I mean?
Right. No, it's broad shoulder time. So
Jagger has a thing. Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Beyonce, Billie Eilish, they have a thing, that is special to them. So it's part of that 40 boxes, Nick, that you and I would do all the time. Yeah, but is it, you know what I'm saying?
right. It makes sense. And I mean, was it as joyful for you to do it after when you guys were the original group, right, of judges and
The
that was
original group was a blast.
had to be
It
fun.
was, dude, it was fun. We made it fun. We would do stuff live on the air that nobody could stop us and we could get away with. Pull pranks on each other live on the air, jokes.
Yep. Yep.
It was, we had a blast. I mean, it was, we luck and fell into something. It was just like it was a godsend. So, yeah, that was a great joy.
Yeah. Amazing. And then you kind of went through the different kind of changes, right, on the panel of judges and all that. I mean,
Yeah, it's like breaking up the band.
right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to hit band, you're breaking it up piece by piece. Kyle, Paula was gone. Kyle was there. Kyle's gone. So it went through a lot of iterations, and I was like, okay, I think I gotta, I think it's time, um, to go to a different ship. So I kind of got out of that and I started my TV production arm. We had a show on MTV called America's Best Dance Crew that we started.
That did great.
Running, yeah, ran for 8 seasons on MTV, did incredibly well. And, the Jabberwockies, our first winners, have the show on NBC now, World of Dance with J-Lo. Yeah, we branded a lot there and did a lot. And, I'd started that production company and went out selling formats and shows and developing, something I still do a lot today. So, yeah, it was a good time.
Well, I've got a couple more things I'm going to ask you before you kick me off and say
Ah, no, no, no.
so. One is I just want to all the sessions you played so many sessions. Is there a great story that's just some great mind blowing story from one of those sessions you could share?
The one I'm thinking about now is recording in LA. with Bruce Springsteen. It was the Lucky Town album and the Human Touch album. And we were
Do that like at A&M or somewhere? Or which studio?
no, it was another studio in Romaine. It was the new Motown in LA. I forget the name of the studio now, but we were there and Bruce and I was standing there talking, and Jeff Porcaro, one of the greatest drummers ever from Toto fame, was playing drums, God rest his soul. And we were standing there, and, Jeff and I would get gear and stuff delivered and, free this and free that guitar, whatever, drum kit, hi-hats or whatever cymbals. And Bruce was like, man, you guys surely get a lot of free gear. And I was like, yeah, Bruce, I mean, you ever get any free stuff? He's like, no, man, I don't like it. I'm like, you don't like free stuff? What? We have some people send you some stuff. No, it's okay. I go, well, why not? He'd go like, well, when I was broke and I had nothing, nobody would give me a nickel. Now that I could buy it for myself, they want to give it to me for free? No, you don't really love me. You don't really love me. And I remember that, and I'm like, this is my dude for life, dude. I love this guy.
That man's integrity is just built in DNA, man.
Dude, like he's absolutely correct.
Yeah,
now I could buy the company. You want to give me the stuff for free? What sense does this make? Where were you when I needed it?
That's fantastic. So
you know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute, this is all backwards.
So brilliant.
You know what I mean?
So before you leave, I just want to ask you, what are you listening to right now? Like, what's got you excited? Is there an artist out there, a couple that you're really excited about?
Look, I mean, I love a lot of hip hop stuff. I love Travis Scott. I love Kendrick Lamar. I love how those kids are pushing the envelope. I love what Post Malone has done with his career, how he's transformed himself from a singer-songwriter into this guy. It's amazing. I love what Billie Eilish has done. I love the new Taylor Swift album a lot.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I'm happy she made an artist record, and it's just honest and raw. And I just love people that are out there pushing the envelope. There's a lot of songs that I love. A lot of great pop songs out there. I love this song, If the World Was Ending, which is J.P. Sachs and his girlfriend. It's just an amazing lyric. I still listen to a lot of old stuff. I love anything that Max Martin does. I think he's a living genius. I think his productions are some of the best and smartest. I think the songwriting is bar none. I think, I think this kid Oz from Switzerland, this producer kid, is doing amazing work. I love the company that Drake has built out of Toronto with him and all of his guys, and the writing. This girl Stara, who's a brilliant writer who writes with everybody. And,
yeah, I've heard of her for sure.
Yeah, she's signed to Pulse. So is Oz. But I just, there's a guy I managed, nephew, Theron Feemster, who's brilliant, Sebastian Cole. I still look for greatness, Nick, no matter what it is.
Yep. Awesome. That's what it's about, my friend.
Yeah. Whatever it is, as long as it's great.
Yep. So we're going to wrap on that note. Thank you so much for your time. Please stay healthy. Please stay vectored. And you are one of the greatest humans I know. You are so sweet, and put more of that energy into the world. We need it.
Well, Nick, love you back, brother. Love you right back. Take care of yourself. We're going to get you on a Unify Health Plan.
All right. I'll speak to you soon.
Nick.
I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Peace, brother.
Thank you. Well, that's our show this week. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned a little something. To follow what's going on with this podcast, you can go to theradicalpod.com theradicalpod.com. You'll find show notes and past episodes, and even a little swag there if you want a t-shirt or a hat. Also, I would be honored if you'd subscribe at Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Till next week.